Cool. All right. So basically, today we're just going to do like an overview, then do maybe a brief introduction to HTML. So now, firstly, what is the web? Like anybody in the chat, anybody available, just tell me what do you think the web is like? What's the web in general? Feel free to answer. Everybody's quiet. All right. The World Wide Web, commonly known as the web, right, is an information system enabling documents and other web resources to be accessed over the internet. So there's one thing I always say with programming. In fact, Google should be your best friend. You understand? So now, basically, on the web, right, like there are different layers. There's a network layer, there's a physical layer, there's a data link layer, there's the network layer, there's a transport layer, application layer. So basically, the web in summary is like it connects like a multitude of devices, right? Then allows them to communicate with one another. So when you check maybe let's say W3 schools, when you check something like W3 schools, like you know that websites like this on the internet are mostly hosted on devices such as servers. So when you're interacting with maybe a web page like this one on the internet, right? What you're essentially doing is you're literally exchanging data with the server that the website is hosted on. So basically the device you're accessing is this web page. On this web page is referred to as a client. So now it's referred to as a client. That's where front end web development comes in, right? And now this web that you see, like the exchange of data between this client that you see, which is just the front end, and the servers, that's more of the back end. It's through different mechanisms. So now that's where now it brings us now to the network layer. As I said, there are 7 types of layers. Okay, so since the web now is more like it's a widespread network. Okay, the web is not just a particular section where you just focus on maybe like the front end or the back end point of view. There are different layers that um, um, engulfs the web in it. So each layer is built on top a previous layer. For instance, let's just check application layer and how it works with the web. Okay, so basically the application layer is that layer that that users interact and use with. Like for instance, you can visit a website and they are like you fill form and all the like. So these layers allows you like to send data to the server. So for instance, you submitting information on the form, it it has to do with the application layer. So very soon, like when we'll be getting into code, we'll briefly outline like the purpose of each layer while we're building components, starting from the bottom layer and building like maybe to the topmost layer. Now, aside after the application layer, we have the physical layer. Okay, so now the physical layer now of maybe your machine or your laptop that you're working with is like maybe you have a cable internet, right? You are connected over a network. So that particular layer now helps you to be able to retrieve information online. Then later on now, if you want to transmit that data from a given machine to another device, it has to do now with the data link layer. So all these layers encompasses the web. Okay. So basically, I think that's just like an introduction on how the web actually works. So now the question is, the World Wide Web and the internet, are they the same? Somebody should answer. The World Wide Web and the internet, are they the same? True or false?
I
I
think they are
think
the
it's
same.
false. I think for me, I think it's false. I think the World Wide Web is a component of the internet.
Exactly. It's false. So why did you think it's true? I think is it Clovis? Yes, Clovis. Why do you think it's true?
It's not Clovis. It's not Clovis.
Um, who said true? Like, why did you think it's true?
No, I'm the one who
Uh,
said true because
according,
that's
according, according to Google, I made Google my friend, so that's how Google told me. And what Google said was the web is also known as the World Wide Web is also known as the web. So that's what I saw on Google.
Basically, the World Wide Web and the internet, those are different things, so they cannot be the same. So, I first of all explained what the World Wide Web is. Like the web is just like a network that is spread across, like the web is a network, right? But now the World Wide Web is and the internet they're not the same at all. So yeah. Basically, okay, now that we have that, so basically like when you talk of the web, we spoke of the is it the data link layer, right? So what are like the sockets what are sockets in context of the web? Now the point is, with time you are going to understand what sockets are, but now it's just for you to have an overview. So when you hear of sockets, right, it's just like a gateway of processes, like a gateway to get in another process. So with time we're going to use socket.io. This is just like a heads up where you use it for maybe messaging and sending of signals like from one process to another. Now if they ask you what is the internet, right? And firstly they tell you that okay, your first option is google.com, your second option is let's say a comprehensive network of computers connected to each other, and your third option is this the internet is wi-fi. So which option will you go with?
I would say
Option
B.
option two.
Okay,
Option two.
I'll go by B as well.
I'll actually go for B.
all right, so that's correct then. So now if they ask you what's the world wide web, one, they tell you that there are devices connected to each other. Secondly, they tell you that browsers such as the Internet Explorer or Safari or Chrome. Or thirdly, they tell you that it's a collection of web pages that can be accessed via the internet. What will you go with?
The last option.
The third option. The third option.
All right, great. So it's just basically a collection of web pages. So if you should not get confused between the internet and the World Wide Web. It's very very important. Now, lastly, who can give maybe an example of a process that may use internet? All of us are using VS Code. Everybody is searching on Google. You are using your phone to browse. So, like, who can give me an example of a process that might use the internet? There are so many processes. Just give me like one process. I'm waiting for people's answers.
Google searching. Google searching.
Okay, so basically, an example of a process that might use the internet, it can be like your phone. Your phone that you open WhatsApp, that's a process that uses the internet. So it's not something that you should even like think. It's just like the internet. So basically, we have just covered like a basic idea of what the web is and what are the like the abstractions in it possesses when like machines are connected to form it, or basically you want to access information to the server and all. So now there's one thing also that many people fail to understand. Like people just get into coding without actually understanding how the web actually works. So um now we have spoken of connection of clients and server connecting to each other, right? So now um the internet has like it comprises of like devices that you call them switches. Yeah, let's just I don't know if anybody has seen a switch before. So it has like which okay, let's just say switches like as you see here. So it the switch facilitate like connection of like each device to every other device on a network. So most of these devices themselves are referred to as like end systems, like end to end. So majority like in computer most of the times many people access web pages. They don't actually access websites because now when I talk of end systems, like end systems are mostly like connected to switches through maybe like it could be connected maybe like through a link or different switches can be turned on at a particular time. So I wish I could draw something. Let me try and draw something to explain. Uh, all right. So I don't know why this thing is still loading. Let me see if there's whiteboard on my. So like end systems are mostly like connected to each other through different links. So on the internet. Taking quite a long time. Alright, I'll just try to. So, uh, oh. Alright, so I just want to draw like maybe a structure of the. So I have to feel. I have to feel all these. Uh, so basically, like if you're connecting end systems to one another, like the switches help to facilitate basically connection between like any two end systems. So I hope these people permit me to be able to draw here. All right, I think it's better. Okay, I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes, we can.
So basically we have a switch here. We have another switch. So now when I talk of end systems, there's something arrow. Alright. So this switch also I think it does not have here. Alright. So basically this switch could be connected to this switch and this switch connected to this switch connected to this. Now when I talk of end systems, like end systems are connected to each switch. Okay, I don't have like an arrow that I could demonstrate here, but now just imagine you have an arrow here that is connected to another end system here. um so end you can just have end systems. The end systems here are connected like through links. So basically that's how switches connect to devices. So now that we like you have them connected over the internet, it's good now that you have to like structure that they are well connected, like they can transport data over the network. So once you're able to transport data over the network, you can now divide the data like in different sets of maybe bits, like those smaller chunks of bits. That's where you talk of packets. Okay, so basically that's just how it works. Now, there's one thing, like many people build applications and they host it, but they don't actually know like the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. So now you have just like covered like we have understood how clients and server communicate with each other by maybe initiating like a transmission control connection and sending messages to one another over the network. Now, talking of HTTP and HTTPS, like HTTP is hypertext transfer protocol where it works at the application layer. So when we're at the application layer, we explain what the application layer does, like how the users interact with and use and allows you to send data and all the like. So now the client program and the server program, like they talk to each other, like the client side and the server side, they talk to each other exchanging mainly HTTP messages. You have to take note of that. And like but basically the benefits of HTTP is to ensure that messages are being sent and delivered intact. That's more of like efficiency, like is they are sent intact. So the question now is, once the messages are sent or they're delivered, it may seem like unclear, but now the high level idea that you need to note is that HTTP is built on TCP. So now, like you creating like an HTTP server for your web application means you are just creating like a server that clients can create connection for reliable transfer of data. Now that's where security comes in place. So if you discover that like the more, if you check maybe like dormitory schools, you note that you have HTTPS. So the most common structure of URS is mostly HTTPS that is actually secured. Now, this HTTPS it stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, and is basically just the secure version of HTTP. So basically what this means is that communication between your browser, that's maybe Chrome, and your hosting server, maybe you're using DigitalOcean, right? They are encrypted like end to end, such that let me see if I can draw. Okay, let's assume this is our computer. Okay, this computer sends like HTTP request to, let's say, this as server. Okay, and the server now sends a response to it. So basically that's how communication is done between a browser and a web application. So aside that, now you discover that once you're sending messages, you have like different ports, and most of the times you don't actually know which port works on what. So we have discussed like the transport layer protocol, and we have discussed about the application layer protocol that ensures like efficient communication between different end systems on the web. But what the question is, where do these messages that this protocol allow for end system go to? So now, if you're doubting where they go to, that's where now you talk about ports. Okay, so you might hear ports are mainly, you might think ports are mainly used in networking, as many people see switches, routing to be related to just networking, but it's related to basically everything. Like ports are just like endpoints of communication between clients and servers. So you might be building maybe your backend, or so you have like different endpoints, but now ports are like the endpoints that help communication from your front end side of you to your client side. That's to say that ports are where like in simple terms, I'll just say like where the messages from the network arrive on an end system. And we spoke on end system here, like if this switch has a link to maybe an exterior view or like three different processes. Those are like different end systems. Okay, and for a switch to connect to an end system, you need a link. So now there are different ports now that you discover that when you're working, maybe you have local host port, you have port 80 and all the like. So each port, like they have numbers, and all ports below 1024, like that associated maybe with a particular protocol. But mainly what I advise web developers to just know, mainly from your machine, you can easily just master the port number for HTTP, which is port 80, and with time you are going to use that. And when they say port 80, you have to understand that what this means is like any message, right, that you send or receive on the web, right, or like in simple terms, if a message leaves from the web, like it leaves from the web point of view and comes into your machine, then the way that information leaves on your machine is through sockets. And on that socket now, it lives on that port 80. So now you need to know that port ports that are you need to know that ports that are above 1024 are open ports that are mostly available to programmers for different processes. Like now, just to conclude on this, like you can build like different sockets on these ports that you have, and like you can define like different structure and types of messages that this socket can cater through socket programming. With time, we're going to work with socket.io. Now, socket programming is just like basically it's an aspect of computer networks that is beyond what we are talking of now, but this is just like a brief overview. So, like to be sure that we have gotten what we have said so far, I'll just ask like some few questions. So, basically, we if I ask you which of the following is not a difference between a switch and a router, what will you say? Firstly, I'll say one. Let's say switches have the ability to turn certain parts on the web off and on. Secondly, routers are more powerful than switches as they can look for the open shortest path first to get a job done. Thirdly, routers are more prevalent than switches. So which of these options will you go for? The first, second, or third?
Please, what do you mean by prevalent?
Okay, when I say prevalent, they are more okay, they look for the first part, like prevalent as in they look for the first part to transmit information without the help of links. Yes.
Then I'm going to go the second option where the routers seek for the shortest path first.
Okay. Another person.
I'm kind of lost. I don't know. Can you take the the options
I
again,
ask
please?
I ask which of the following is not a difference between a switch and a router? Which is not a difference? Take note, switches have the ability to turn certain parts off and on. Secondly, routers are more powerful than switches as they can look for the shortest path. Thirdly, routers are more prevalent than switches. Prevalent as in they are widespread, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, and then the first option is not the difference. I'm changing my answer.
All right, that's correct. Does any other person have
Yes,
another
I go
answer?
for the first.
I'll
Okay.
actually go for the
No, the
first option.
first good.
Okay. Now TCP ensures that there's reliable transfer of information. True or false?
True.
Okay. So what's TCP like? What's the meaning of TCP?
Transfer control
Transmission
protocol.
control protocol.
Transmission.
Transmission control protocol.
All right. Cool. HTTP is more secure than HTTPS. True or false?
False.
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 False. False.
All right. Okay. Port 3000 can be programmed to be used by a process. True or false?
Mm,
False.
um, True,
Remember,
true.
I said ports. I When I was talking, I said ports above 1024 are open ports and are available for programmers to use any process they want. So that's why I'm asking that port 3000 can be programmed to be used for a process. True or false?
True.
True then.
Yeah.
True, true.
All right. So now we have like basically a high level overview of how communication occurs on the web, starting with protocols and devices and systems that allow messages to be sent and received over the network. So I think that's really a solid foundation that we have already. Aside that, I think we can get started into server side and client side. So basically, at the start, I spoke of the client side, right? So I said website can be broken down into two parts. That's you have the client side, that's and the server side. And now the code on the client side basically runs on your local host. Okay. For instance, if you have something like this and you run it on your local host, that's just like basically what the client side looks like. So that's then now when requests are made from like requests, you want to get data from the server and how it interacts with maybe your client machine, as I said here. Like if for instance you're sending a request to the server and the server is sending a response. When the server is sending a response, that's mainly the backend point of view. So now basically we will for the client side we're going to start with HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And now for the server side is mostly like it used to deliver information that maybe is queried right from websites. So basically if you query like your database and you retrieve information, it's mainly the server side. That's why if you check very well, companies like let's say Amazon, they use like server side programming to work on their search results. I don't know. Let's like visit Amazon. Sorry. So like if you search maybe what they basically do, they use mainly server side programming to like construct these are search results of like products and make like targeted product suggestion. So it basically has a lot to do with that. Also another thing is like banks also use server side programming. Like if you go to a bank and you want to create a bank account, right? They use server side programming to store account information and they can restrict access from unauthorized accounts. Like for instance, if you have to pay for a course on Udemy, even if I give you my card number, you'll not be able to get in because there is maybe a security code in it. So that's mainly how server side works. So in summary, server side programming helps to like you deliver information and storing information efficiently. You like have like maybe a custom experience for each user. Okay. It helps you like to store maybe session or state information. With time we're going to work with states and you're going to understand how things go. And yeah, so basically for server side we're going to use JavaScript. Okay. So with all that theory, let's just get started with like some basics of all right. Get started with like some basics of HTML. So I know some people here already know, but we're going to assume that nobody knows. So we're just going to go with the flow. So
Please
HTML,
ask a question.
yeah, go on.
Did I hear you say we are going to use JavaScript for the server side?
Yes.
All right. And when you say server side, that should be a back end, right?
Yeah.
All right. So in that case, JavaScript can be used for both front end and back end.
Yeah, JavaScript can use both for front end and back end.
Sorry, is that I had known that it can be used just for front end. I had no idea that it can be used for back end as well.
All right, no worries. You can use React on the front end and use Node on the back end, Express on the back end. So yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you. It's clear now.
Okay. So HTML. Okay. Let's check what HTML means.
My hand has been up for a while. I don't know if you did not notice it, but
Oh,
I
I
have
didn't
a
notice.
question too.
Sure, go on.
Most of the times we always get confused about. I wanted to ask, like, what's the advantage of using Node as the backend compared to PHP Laravel, JavaScript Spring, and all the other ones?
Okay. On a personal point of view, right? Node.js has like a better efficiency compared to others. Like in terms of speed and performance, is far more faster, and also in addition, most of the times it depends on what I'm to work on that intrigues me to use Node. But now, you Node using Node, he has like a huge number of free tools too. But now, if you want to use Django and maybe you're like a beginner in Django, there are a lot of things that you have to how I put it, you have to, should I say, like set up. Like basically, if you're deploying a backend with Django, you have a lot of processes to follow compared to Node.js, which is more it's more easy and in terms of speed and performance. So it depends also on the kind of project you're working to, but with Node.js is really very fast and performance. So when you work with React like JavaScript on the front end, it's advisable to use Node. Like it will save you time. Yeah, it will save you time and cost. So that's it. Is it okay?
Okay, because well, okay, because I'm still confused.
Now, Node.js is
Please, can I say something?
sure, sure.
You said Node.js is less costly. I don't get it because I was thinking that probably Laravel, PHP, right? PHP Laravel is less costly compared to Node.js.
All right. For I think have I tried like okay. Basically, if you need like um a full scale system like that handles like maybe payment, like and you want to use Node.js, you discover that Node.js will handle that better because Laravel, I think it's based on more of a CMS. Sorry, no, not really. I think okay, it's not Laravel. Like if you need like a service based architecture that is really compact, I think you should go with Node because Laravel has like actually it's been long I work like it has some kind of um I think how they call it eloquent like the model is pretty more complicated compared to Node. So but now with Laravel you need like a basic implementation of like more of PHP. So that's why I mentioned that if you want to go with Laravel for your backend, I think then you need to consider matching PHP to a certain fault. Yeah, so that's just it. But in terms of costs, I've not compared between Laravel and Node.js before, so yeah.
Please,
All right,
I have
that's
the
okay.
last question.
Yeah, sure.
Please, please, can you give me? I don't know the difference between a database and a backend. Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference. I think with time you understand. But okay, um, how I explain this in simple terms. Okay, when you talk of backend, right, it's more of a software that is running on a server. Like maybe you have configured a lot of things on your server. Maybe you have configured stuff on Nginx server, depending on where you're deploying. Okay, but now when you come now to database, it mostly renders what is sent from the front end. The back end sends a response, like you receive a request from the front end and sends a response to the back end. But now the database renders like the contents, like if you are filling a form, right, the contents from that form that that you pushed from the front end is stored on the database. So it's more like it's like an intermediary between the front end and the back end, though it also lies on the back end. I don't know if that answers your question, but in
Then
all,
in that case, let's say it's like a component of the back end.
yes, yes, something like that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so let's just go. We start with HTML stuff. All right. So basically, HTML is like hypertext markup language. So yes, like if you see here, it's one of the standardized markup languages that defines like the layout of a web page. So you can use CSS to aid in your styling of your web page. Like yeah. So now talking of HTML, when you think of HTML, when you think of HTML, first thing that need to come in your mind is tags. Like HTML tags are basically like the building blocks of all web pages. So the way it is a web page is displayed, the way a text is displayed is strictly HTML. So like a basic HTML tag, it has like let's see if there's something here that we can demonstrate. So you have like there's several HTML tags. Just want us to demonstrate something here. Okay. So you have several tags. You have basic tags, you have formatting tags, image tag, link tags, list tags, form tags, table tags, media tags, and many more. So now a basic HTML tag, like let's just see something like this. A basic HTML it contains like mainly the name. Like if you see this, a paragraph tag enclosed like with angle brackets. Some people call it greater than, less than symbol. So most of these come with pairs, in pairs, okay, of like the opening. You see this opening tag and this the closing tag. So the closing tag is practically the same as the opening tag, but the difference is this slash. So now let's just have like a look on like maybe the example below. All right. So now I'll just create. I'll just clear this off. So there's a short way you can generate code. Like you can just use like the exclamation sign and maybe press tab and it will generate like the whole skeleton of an HTML document. So now I'll just do this now. Let's look maybe, and everything is written in the body. So for instance, let's just have an example. If you have like, let's say, so each content is wrapped in a tag name, you get. So some tags are self-closing, which means like they don't require a closing tag. For example, you have so like a break is self closing. So there in summary, if you have something like the paragraph tag, okay, this what you have here, this P is the opening tag, this is a closing tag, and now anything between the tags is like the content. So each HTML file has is like a structure. So you have like the head. After the head, you have the body where all the content is written and all the like. So the head and the body tags like have its own use, right? So basically, if you have this head tag mainly contains like metadata information, such as like if you want to link this to a CSS file, if you want to link your stuff to a CSS file, you have to write everything within the head. You have to do your linking on the head. You can link to CSS and JS files, and maybe when you're working on a website, most of the times it has to be SEO friendly. Okay, so you also use the head tag to um write certain keyword, like maybe a keyword on, let's say, that for instance, you can write that on the head tag. But now mainly this metadata is not displayed on your local browser. As you see here, it's not displayed here. All right, so now the body tag on the other hand contains like the actual markup, like paragraphs, images and tables that you are to use. So with time we're going to look into that. So now talking now of this doc type, like this doc type is mainly like a declaration that tells like your browser, like if you see here I'm using Microsoft Edge browser, it tells your browser the HTML version that this document is written. Like now there's HTML5, we use that's why we use this doc type HTML. Back then there was HTML4 where we're using the 4.01 street. Then I think years ago there was also XHTML. I don't know if someone has heard of it, but as the years go by, things really updated. So now talking of HTML, there's a way you write comments in HTML. So if you want to write a comment in HTML, comments are basically what like the browser ignores. Okay, so you can put them there anytime. Maybe if you want to say that this paragraph tag, use a comment. All right, so these are comments. Comments start with this greater than, this less than, then exclamation with these two dots and all. So basically, if you want to comment a whole block of code like this, you can just take control and slash on your keyboard. It's going to highlight for that particular section easily. So now talking of tags again, there's what is known as tag attributes. So all HTML tag can have attributes. Okay, for instance, we have this tag name here, right? This can actually take an attribute. Okay, an attribute now can be like any value. So now when you talk of attributes, it's like providing more information about a certain element. So if you know, like let's say you can always check like attributes of the paragraph tag. Like it's just like an overview. You discover that there are different attributes for each tag. You can have ID, which has a value of identifier. It defines a unique identifier for the paragraph. You have class, which has a value of class name. So they vary. So attributes are always placed in the opening tag of each element, and they exist like key or like value pairs. Okay. So now these values, okay, are always in quotes. You have to take note. These quotes could be maybe double quote or single quotes, but they're usually double, like to illustrate. Okay. So let's just go like mainly to maybe some common tags that we can use. Okay. You need to know that for image you have like the img tag. Now there's one thing that many people have issues in. You don't need to master like 100 tags. The majority of thing you need to do is to be able to Google search. For instance, if I want to use an image tag, I just simply need to search how to use um, image tag in HTML. You check MDN documentation. And now if you check MDN documentation, it will give you like an overview of how to use that particular tag. So it's very, very important. You see, you give you image, and this is the attribute for it, like the value we had for it, and it's also enclosed in double quotes. Okay, so basically, let's just use the common. Let's just do like a commonly used tag. So now we're going to write like our comment, okay, to show that we're working on a particular tag. So let's just handle the headings tag. Okay. Now, talking of headings, they range from H1 to H6. Okay. So you can have H1, you can say heading 1. Okay. You have H2, you have H3, you have H4, you have H5, and you have H6. Okay. Now, I'll just replace it here rather than writing them step by step. So I'll just say comparing the headings. Okay, so now let's see how they differ. So you discover here that H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6. So they vary like from different sizes. So basically between H1 to H6, which is the largest heading? Somebody should tell me.
H1.
H1.
Alright, so basically that's how we use like the heading tag. And now another commonly used tag, we have seen it earlier, paragraph tag. So you can just use a paragraph tag. The paragraph tag is just P. You can just say paragraph. Alright. Now there's another commonly used tag that is very, very important. The link. Okay. Now link tag has different attributes. So once the link tag is A, so now you see there's an href attribute for the link. This href attribute now, in that href attribute, you can put like the link that you want to connect to. For instance, you can say DTP GitHub. Now to add the link, you can just copy the URL. Like maybe you can copy this and you can add that here. Okay. So once you save that, you have it here such that if you click this, it takes you now to that particular URL you indicated. But now for better practices, if you visit somebody's website and you click on a link and you totally leave the website, it's really not user friendly. That's why there's an attribute for the link tag that you can use to cause the user move onto the page without actually leaving your website. Now it's not about matching it. Now you have to be able, you ask Google, right? You can easily say which attribute causes the user to redirect to another page. Uh, okay. Or let's just say attributes for the link tag. Okay. So hmm, I'm not giving me what I want to say. Alright, let's check this. External resource element. Uh, let's see. Basically, it's like they're not showing it though. Alright, let's check here. Also, if you notice here, like when you see this delete here, those are duplicated tags that you should not use. Directory is duplicated. These are tags that you should not use. Center is duplicated. Content duplicated. There's so many duplicated tags that you should not use. If you use them, will work, but at a certain point, your site will not really do the job it has to do. So basically, I'm looking for a target blank attribute. I don't know why we cannot get it. So we'll just search target attribute. Okay. So basically, this is what we're talking of, right? A target attribute specifies where to open the link document. Okay. So now, if we want to move on to another page, this is the attribute we use, target blank. So we can just simply, and you see where it's added. It's added immediately after the link. You just have it within the target blank. Okay. So you have a target blank. So such that if someone visits your site and clicks, see redirects completely to a new page. So that makes things better and cleaner. So another thing you should note that is very important is for lists. List tag. So now when we talk
Hello,
of
Daniel.
list, yes,
I don't know. I don't. Please, is it okay if I take you backward just one step, please?
sure, sure.
I don't. Please, I don't know if you can help me remove the target blank. Let me see again the difference with when it wasn't there.
All right, okay, I've removed it. Let's come back here. Now, if you click this, it remains on the website, on your website that you have hosted, but takes the user out of your website to another website.
Okay.
But now, if you use a target blank, it moves this onto a new tab. It moves it to a new tab, causing the user to stay on your website.
Okay. Create a new tab. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so if you see, you click it now. Oh, so I've not refreshed. Think let's go to target blank. Okay, if you click, it takes you to a new tab completely.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So now, we'll talk on the list tag. So now that there are two types, there's ordered and there's unordered list. Okay. So now when we're talking of unordered list, right, you have the UL and you have the OL. So let's test this. Test this. Okay. Let's see the difference I don't think it's okay. So basically, we cannot see the difference from here because we have no item that is under this list. So if you have, when you're creating lists, right, you have unordered list. In the unordered list, you have to have items that you've listed within. So that's where now li comes in. So for instance, we have this unordered list. We cannot just write like this within the unordered list. Now, if you want to display anything within the unordered list, there's what they call li. Okay, it's like somebody is joining the call. All right. So as I was saying, if you want to write like an unordered list, you have to have something like this. You have to have each unordered list. You have to have a list item within it. So unordered. Okay, so let's see how that looks like now. You see, it's unordered. That's why you have these bullet points. Okay, same thing goes for the ordered list. Each ordered list that you have, you cannot just write it like this. You have to have a list item within it. So you can just say an ordered list. So that's it. Then let's see the result. You see now this one is ordered. That's why you have one, two. Now this is a very very important thing. So now there's one other thing. If you're building maybe a website, right, you will not want that they should see at a certain point, depending on what you want to do, you will not want that they should see these bullet points. Now that's where attributes come in place. Like I said, it's very very important to know attributes. Let me just push it so that you can, let's say, list, you can review it later on. Okay, now attributes, now you can check now attributes for the unordered list. You can maybe give it a style. Okay, you can change the style because the default is like a dot. Okay, so there are different styles that you can give for your unordered list. For instance, if you want to give it a list style, I can give it a list style of a type, like the type could be dix or so. I can give it a style type of, oh sorry, type of dix. Okay, now it's okay, so this is the attribute for this. Let's just run it and see. I already saved that. Oh, this does not have to be here. Alright, nothing has changed. Okay. Um, let's see. I have another list type of used to construct the default contents of, yeah. Alright. Now I don't think that will work. Let's see. And now for the ordered list, you can, let's see, you can, if you can give it a type of one and see what I have. It's not running. That's strange. Oh, alright. We have nothing linked yet to CSS, so it's alright. Aside, but now there are let's check on the attributes for the ordered list. Okay. Alright. So let me see, this is the attribute for other list of type of one. When you have a type of one, that means the list items will be numbered with numbers. If you have a type of A, that means the list number will be with letters. So let's try changing to the type of A and see what we have. Okay. So you see here, it has automatically changed to um, alphabets, like letters. Okay. So basically, each tag that you're working with, you should know the attributes of the tag that distinguishes you from other people. because many people just focus on matching the different tags that exist. Okay, so now aside the list, let's go now to another important tag, which is the table. All right, so now creating a table in HTML is practically divided into I'll say two sections. So if you're creating a table, you have to take note that there's a table row, which is like the main skeleton. And in that table row now, you can have a table head and a table data. So now let's see what MDN has to say about creating table tag in HTML. You can see MDN, okay. Documentation is basically everything. If you notice, like everything. So you have like the table here, which covers everything. You have the table head, and within the table head, you have the table row. Okay, so now that's just like how the table works. But now, in simple terms, let's just create like a basic table. Firstly, the first thing you need to have is the table that covers everything. Okay, now within the table that you're creating, you have a table row. Now, same thing like the list, you have the unordered list, and now for the unordered list, you have the list item. So now for the table row, you should have a table head. Okay. So for your table head, you can say um, JavaScript, right? Then let's have another table head language. Okay. Now let's see what we have. Here you see you have JavaScript and language, just the table head for this particular table that we created. Now the thing is, once you see this on a site, you might be wondering that maybe it's just like a paragraph tag. So that's where inspect comes in place. If you're working like you're going through a site, you need to make sure that you know how to use this inspect column. Okay, once you inspect, you can see here that there is the table header that we have used here, and you can know how to replicate, because there will be tags that will give you or be like, maybe okay, this site exists online, you should go and reproduce something like this. So you should not see something like this and you write a paragraph tag in it. You should know when there is a table and when there is no table. So you have to make good use of the console. Now let's create another table. We have table row. We have now you have the table data. Table data could be what is found in the particular row that you're filling. So we're just going to fill this and see what we have as output. Let's say note, then maybe we'll say we have another data as express. Okay, let's see what we have for this. You see now, this table data, it fits under the table head, and you can do that incrementally, like from step to step, from step to step. So now let's create another table row, then fit let's create maybe another table data and fit in let's add more table data to this header and see how it looks like. So now let's add another table row. um, we have maybe that we have Python. Let's add another table row. We have PHP. Let's see backend. So let's see how it looks like. So as you see, that's how you can create it, and you create over and over and over again. So let's now do one more tag. Then maybe we can call it a day and I can give an assignment to do. So we have, let's just use the image tag. All right, so now using the image tag, you can now we'll just use like for an image online and we'll add it as a source. So we have image, then the attribute for this is source. Now the source now could be the URL where this image could be taken, or it may be locally, like you can add the path. So it varies from type to type. So what we'll do is we're not going to add a local image here yet. We're going to get a URL of an image online. So what I'll do is maybe I could look for a random image online. Let's say this. You can copy the link address of that image and we can add it here as a source. Oh, this is this is an image, right? Let's see how will it even went down. Sometimes these images are alright. So that's the source. I don't know why it's not displaying that way. Google stuff like that. Let's just look for a random image and see. Maybe there's an issue with the URL. Or just let me just look for any image and see. Alright. That's serious. Um, let me try copying the link address of this and see what could be the issue. I wonder why our image is not rendering here. But either way,
Are you sure
I
you have
should.
saved? Are you sure you have saved?
I saved it to it okay. Well, that's strange. Let's try to shut down the server and see what happens. Image not showing. That's serious. But either way, but we used an image somewhere. Let's try adding here and see what. Maybe it's because it's I don't get. This is strange. Oh. Let's try switching browsers and see what happens. Hmm, not see rendering. That's weird. Either way, we'll just try adding an image.
What if we can just download the image and insert it manually, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to get the image online, but it's okay. You can still we can download an image and insert it manually. Let's just yeah, that's another option. So basically, we'll just end this session for today. But like just a brief review, I'll just ask some few questions. Okay, which has the largest HTML? Which tag has the largest HTML heading tag? I'll not give options.
H1.
Which tag has the largest HTML heading tag?
H1.
Okay.
H1.
All right. Let me write like a sample code. H1. Let's see. Okay, is this HTML code that I've written here valid? Forget about every other thing that is on this page. Like just assume that the whole this code editor is just this. Is this HTML code I've written here between line 60 and 61, is it valid? Yes or no?
I think is
For you mean forgetting about where it is found, whether it is in the body or whatever?
Assume that this index.html has just this line 60 and line 61. Is this HTML code valid?
No,
Why is it not valid?
I don't think it's valid. It's not valid.
Why is it not valid?
because
Because we have
there's no
the
head, there's no body to even show that. It must have a full skeleton, then that now being in the body for it to be valid.
Exactly. The head and body is not found, so it's not valid. Last question. Which tag can you use to make a numbered list in HTML?
numbered list. Use the ordered
Other
ordered
list,
list.
Ordered
Other
list. Which tag?
Which
was it
OL.
the
target
OL
blank?
now.
I did not get you. Which tag?
The OL.
Yes, exactly. So basically, this is just like
OL, okay.
yes, it's OL. So this is like a brief overview of HTML. So tomorrow we're going to start linking our CSS to HTML, and maybe we'll talk about some inline, external, and internal styling and all the like. Maybe we'll talk about some how to lay out your page and all the like. So basically, we've come to the end of this session of today. I'll send a task in maximum 30 minutes after this call for you guys to do and submit before the class of tomorrow. All right, so that's it. Yeah. Any questions?
None from my end. Oh, thank you for the class.
All right, all right. For what we have
Thank you.
done today, I'm going to send. In fact, let me send a URL in the chat section. I'll just push it here to this repository, and you can just visit it. Let me just send the link here. Oh, Amos, sorry, I'm just seeing your message now in this chat section. Like I was focused on the other screen.